Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Cam Jennings coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com. I want to welcome you to another episode of Index Card Insights. It is Monday morning. That's Monday morning. And today I want to talk to you guys about my very own Cleveland Browns and their victory yesterday over the Baltimore Ravens. Now listen, you might not like NFL football. You might not care about American football. You might not like sports at all. And you might be thinking, Cam, I don't want to hear this crap. I don't care about that. Let's talk about business stuff. I get it. But listen, man, we're going to tie this into business stuff because I think there's, three important takeaways from that game yesterday that definitely can tie into your online business. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this today. Now, before I do get into this today, I want to remind everybody to get over to EpicConversions.com, grab your free copy of 12 Secrets, okay? 12 Secrets is going to teach you 12 mind-blowing reveals on AI and how to succeed in online business using artificial intelligence. You're going to love it. It's fantastic, and it's absolutely free for a limited time. It will be going up in price after this year is over. So be sure to grab that copy before the end of this year because it's free right now, but it won't stay free. So that's EpicConversions.com, EpicConversions.com, EpicConversions.com. Now, what I want to talk about today with this Browns win yesterday. So look, yesterday the Browns beat the Baltimore Ravens. This is a divisional game, and what that means is it's twice as important as all the other games. They beat the Baltimore Ravens 33-31. And it was a crazy game, man. The Baltimore Ravens got out into the front, and towards the beginning of the game, the Browns were down by 14 points. And they stayed behind the Baltimore Ravens pretty much that whole first half. It was a nightmare. But they managed to kind of like hang in there a little bit. But at the beginning of the second half, the Browns found themselves behind 24-9, right? So the Ravens were still very, very much in control of that game right there at the beginning of the second half. And it was nuts, right? But slowly, the Browns kept on plugging away at it. They just kept on coming back and coming back. They didn't let them get the game out of hand. And even when the game did seem out of hand, the Browns just kept on coming. They just kept on coming back. It was crazy, right? There's three things that I noticed about this game that I really wanted to talk about today. Number one is the Cleveland Browns did not give up during that game, right? I mean, they were behind by a lot. I mean, they could have very, very easily started checking out, like mentally as players, just kind of going through the motions. And I've seen that happen before in NFL games where players just kind of check out. They're just going through the motions. They're basically just showing up to work now, right? The Browns didn't do that. They didn't give up. They stayed in the game. They stayed believing in themselves. They never doubted that they could come back and win this game. It was really, really amazing to watch. But when it comes to not giving up, I wonder how many people out there, who are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, how many of you have adapted that mindset of not giving up? How many of you have thought about like what you're trying to do online, and now you're just kind of going through the motions because you haven't seen a lot of success up until now. So now you're just kind of going through the motions, even though technically you're still doing it. It's almost like mentally you've checked out. You got to look in the mirror and you got to ask yourself, have I checked out mentally? What should I be doing that I'm not doing? What should I be doing that I'm not doing? Think about like if you were a director for a movie or something, you try to get the best performances out of your actors, right? You try to get the best possible script that you could get, right? Unless you'd mentally checked out and you're just collecting a paycheck, then maybe you wouldn't. You wouldn't care about stilted performances from the actors. You wouldn't care about a lackluster script. You were getting paid regardless, right? So you got to wonder how many people are just kind of going through the motions. They're telling themselves they want to be, running an online business. But the truth is they're comfortable. They're comfortable at their normal jobs. even if they don't like their normal jobs, they're comfortable with their normal jobs, and they're just kind of going through the motions on this half-hearted dream that they have of starting their online business. In effect, they've kind of given up, really. Maybe they're not giving up technically, but kind of in a few ways, mentally, they're kind of giving up, So to me, you really have to stand in the mirror and you have to ask yourself, you have to be very honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I giving up? Am I doing everything I'm supposed to be doing to actually achieve success? Am I really putting my all into this? You got to ask yourself. So the second thing that I noticed that the Browns did was they excuse me, sorry. They kept emotions out of it, and they took it one play at a time. The Browns kept emotions out of it, and they took it one play at a time. And I thought this was just fascinating. Again, they were behind at one point. They were down by 15. I mean, they were playing a Baltimore Ravens team that is incredibly good. We're talking about the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the National Football League going head-to-head, battling it out. You could definitely argue that the Baltimore Ravens have had a better offense than the Cleveland Browns up until this point. They had performed better. But we're talking about two teams that were battling ferociously with each other. They both wanted to win really, really bad. And whenever you have these AFC North divisional games, it's emotional. It is an emotional game. But what I noticed is the Browns kept emotions out of it, and they took it one play at a time. They didn't try to reach for too much. When they were down by 15 points at the beginning of the second half there, they didn't try to get it all back really fast. They didn't reach for too much. They took it one play at a time, and they stayed just really like they were consistent. They were steadfast, right? But they kept emotions out of it. And I think, to me, and I think we can all take a lesson from this. When things don't go your way in business, in online business especially, when you put a lot of effort and a lot of energy and a lot of work into something, or you've invested a lot of money into something, and it doesn't seem to be working out for you, it's very easy to get frustrated, to get emotional about it, and to give up on it, right? Or to walk away from it, or to get really frustrated and throw even more money at it, even though that's probably not the best way to handle it, right? It's very easy to let your emotions think for you, to think with your heart or to think with your emotions instead of with your brain, right? It's very easy to do that. But I think we could all take a lesson from the Cleveland Browns yesterday. Where they kept their emotions in check. They didn't let their emotions get the best of them. They stayed steady Eddie, man. They stayed steady, and they just took it play by play. Trust the process, take it play by play. And I think that's one of the most important takeaways you can get from this game that happened yesterday when it comes to your online business is keeping steady. Just take it one move at a time and keep your emotions out of it. It's a series of decisions, right? When it comes to online business, especially, it's just a series of decisions. It's a series of decisions. And I tell you what, I've never made good decisions when I was being emotional. Never have. Whether I was being emotional because, I was trying to support a friend, or I was being emotional because I was making a rash decision because I was angry about something. None of that's ever helped me whatsoever. The best things that have always helped me in business is when I took my emotions out of it and made logical decisions based on what makes the most sense for my business. And that's just what's worked the best. And sometimes that looks a little cold-hearted from the outside. Sometimes from the outside, that looks a little cold. It looks a little selfish, But the truth is, the fact of the matter is, if you want to succeed in online business, you have to make decisions based off of logic, and you have to take the emotions out of it. At least that's been my experience. So that's another big takeaway that I got from the game yesterday. I pulled that away. Really nice lesson, kind of a great reminder to keep the emotions out of it, right? Good things happen when you just take it one play at a time. and you keep the emotions out of it. What's the third thing that I got from the game yesterday? What I noticed was in the first half of the game, first of all, the defense was consistent, right? The defense stayed consistently nasty and mean all game long. They did a great job against the Ravens offense, which I think personally is a pretty high-powered offense. And the defense did a great job of being consistent. Yeah, they weren't perfect, but they were consistently great. And they've been that way all year long as far as I'm concerned. But what I noticed, and this is the third big takeaway for me, was that the offense, the Browns offense, they adapted, right? They adapted offensively. They adjusted offensively. You see, in the first half, I noticed the way they were playing offensively was a certain kind of way that wasn't working for them. I won't go into the specifics of it because it doesn't really matter. I know some of the people listening to this podcast, they don't care about NFL football. But the way they were doing things in the first half, it wasn't really working. It's almost like the game plan they had in place was not working, right? So in the second half, what I noticed was they figured something out about the Ravens defense, and they adapted their offense to it. They adjusted what they were doing to the Ravens defense, and then they started seeing success. They started seeing success on the ground. They started seeing success through the air. And the idea of adjusting when things aren't working out for you, that's been like one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn in online business. It's that most things that I try, they don't generally work right off the bat. Usually I will have to adjust them. I don't even care like if, it's a proven method and I've learned it from someone who's been using it for years. Usually when I start trying to do it, it doesn't work as well as I thought it was going to, and I have to kind of like adjust it. And that's not always the case, but many times it is the case. When I try doing something, it's not going to just work like clockwork for me. I'm going to have to adjust it. I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'm going to have to tinker with it. I'm going to have to adjust it to get it working the way I want it to. That's been something that has been it's been a reoccurring theme of my whole online career. So to me, and I've talked to other entrepreneurs and it's the same for them. It's a constant state of adjustment. You're constantly either trying to adjust things to get them to work, or you're adjusting things to get them to work better, right? It's always this state of adjustment for the most part. So, I think that, one second, guys, let me get a drink. So for me, as an old dog online entrepreneur, watching that game yesterday and watching the Browns, adjust their offense, because what they were doing wasn't working in the first half. It was really cool to see that play out in real time. It's something I've watched play out in my own business many, many times. I think the trick is, and the key is to recognize when things aren't working and to have that kind of instinct to decide when is it time to adjust or when is it time to let it ride a little bit longer and let it play out. What I do usually is I will give things before I even start a finite amount of time to operate and see if it works. And if it's not working within that amount of time, then I'll adjust. But usually I start with a set amount of time. Like I say, okay, I'm going to try this for a week, and then let me evaluate the data after a week. I'm going to try this for a month. Let me evaluate the data after a month. Have I always got it right? No, I don't think I've always gotten it right. I think I've let things ride too long sometimes. Now some people, they pull the plug too fast and they change things too fast. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm the kind of person, I'll let things ride probably longer than I should sometimes. I once let a paid traffic source ride for a year before I pulled the plug on it and decided, you know what, this ain't working. I got to pull the plug on this. But I let it ride for a while just to see what would happen. I might have adjusted it a few times, but as far as just pulling the plug on it and just giving up on that traffic source, I let it ride for a year before I pulled the plug on it. So it was too long, far too long. I probably should have let it ride tops 3 months. 3 months should have been the end, tops. Adjusting it every week, and then after 3 months, been done with it. That's probably what I should have done. But I didn't. I let it ride for a year. But anyways, Yeah, that's one thing I loved about the game, and I think that's one thing you can really take away for your online business. That I think like successful online business is always a series of adjustments, and you got to make them if you want to win. So listen, guys, that's all I got. I hope that's been helpful to you. Whether you like American football, whether you don't like American football, that's okay. The three big takeaways I had from that game were one, never give up. If you don't give up, you don't fail. And like, it's going to be a series of ups and downs. So that's the first thing. The second thing is keep your emotions out of it. Always try to make decisions based on logic, and just take it one play at a time, just like in football. And then the third thing is make sure you're adjusting. Make sure you're adjusting to the situation. You might have a plan going into things, but that plan is usually always going to get changed. You're always usually going to have to adjust. And that's just kind of the way it is. So that's all I got. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Index Card Insights. Peace now.